Hi, I'm your host, Kirsten Quinn, and welcome to the Philadelphia Cultural Forum on CCP TV, Community College of Philadelphia's educational channel. Tonight we have three fantastic writers who also happen to be students here at the college. Please join me in welcoming Youssef Morton, Anna Farrell, and Wasim Al-Mashadani to the show. Hi guys.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for coming on the show. I had the privilege of teaching you at some point or another in my career, and I love seeing you guys again, and I'm really excited to hear some of your work that you've been doing recently, and maybe even stuff that you wrote a little while ago and you're willing to share with us. The audience is really going to get a treat tonight, hearing some of your fellow students' work. The first question that I wanted to ask you guys is, how did you get started in writing, and why did you choose to write?
For me, writing has always just been a personal affair where I've been able to take some of my past experiences, compartmentalize them, analyze them, and then reapply them to myself through the form of words.
Yeah.
I've always been big on words. I think that the way that we go through life, as a child particularly, I was able to see certain situations and not fully understand them, but in my mind I knew what they were.
Right.
And now I can relive certain things, and not only can I understand them, but maybe other people can relate to some of my work, some of my writings, some of my experiences, and have a connection with that. It gives you a voice. It gives you a platform to express not only some of your history,
Absolutely.
but maybe some other people's experiences, so that they can understand who they are and who we are collectively.
Yeah, because a lot of your writing has universal messages in it.
I would definitely say it has universal messages,
Yeah.
even though they're personal. I think that in the grand scheme of things, we do things together, and though our walks of life might be different, we might see some of the similarities in each other, and even our differences, we can embrace that, which makes it in a certain way universal, that we're all different.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about writing. It is an art form. And do you write mostly creative nonfiction, or is there a mixture of things that you write?
There tends to be a mixture, but I tend to stay on, I'll probably say creative nonfiction side of things. Things that I myself have been through, or I've known someone that has gone through.
Okay.
And then it is a journey. All styles is a journey. I guess this is just a part of the journey where I'm at right now, where I'm experiencing with this form of writing.
That's great.
I want to eventually expand to probably other things, but it's a craft that is in constant need of refinement. So
Okay, great. So it's that process that is also important to writing.
Sure, absolutely.
It's a good one to start with, too. I mean, like creative nonfiction, or just the nonfiction idea, to be able to take, past experiences, like you said, and transform them into something, that might be more positive, is something that's very special about doing it. But it's weird because, like, I won the contest for a nonfiction piece that I did, and I'm not reading that on the air in front of my mom. But there's so many different styles of writing and facets of writing that, I find that sometimes, I write for myself as either therapy or just, to be able to take a bunch of random thoughts and put them in some kind of logical order. And the idea of like trying new things like poetry and like plays is really interesting to me. Like there's just so much you can do with writing in the art form. The expression is limitless.
Very true.
And expressing yourself and being able to share that with others, there's many layers to the process and to what you can give other people. I mean, I know for me, reading has always been such a passion of mine, and it's stories like yours and plays like yours and and poems that have always stuck with me as a reader, and so writers have a really powerful effect. How about you, Kiana?
Well, when I was young, I always had a very imaginative mind, and my mother always enjoyed it, and my family always enjoyed it, and I had all these stories in my head that I wanted to write down and share with people that you don't see on TV or read in books. And that's how I started writing plays, basically.
And why did you choose plays?
I chose plays because I am an actress, and to be able to put a play on stage, and by the way, theater is slowly, fading away. It's not as interesting as movies nowadays. So to be able to put a play on stage and perhaps have a hit one day would be an enormous achievement.
Oh, yeah.
And, to be in a play, one of my own plays would be great as well, too.
And I hope that the production is in the future for you, and I think that it will be. And, having read your work, and we'll get to hear some of it today. You'll get to see how great all of these guys are with their writing. And I like the fact that we have different styles and modes of writing today, so that, that you will, as an audience, get the chance to be inspired and maybe to be inspired to write yourselves something, because it's really important that you not only take the classes here that you're taking, but that you take what you're learning and you can use it for years to come, that it can be part of your life. Which
literally, I mean, I started writing in your class last year.
Funny part is I did as well. I wouldn't say I started, but I definitely had put my creative writing skills way, way to the side, where it was like an afterthought. And between yourself and Ari, it just inspired me again. And I actually I can't wait sometimes when I have a moment to sit down and crank something out, and just a lot of it ends up in the trash, and then I pull it back out and I save it for later. But
that's what I did tonight.
That's what we always do.
I can't tell you how much that means to me. I really can't. I mean, I can't express in words what that means to me, and also for you to share it with me, to send your work to me, and that I get the privilege and honor of reading it. It's just so awesome.
Well, that's definitely a gift that you have. I mean, I think that, I'm sure you would agree that, Kirsten, would, makes everybody in her class kind of seem comfortable to, be able to write and, express themselves.
Absolutely.
And
I would definitely say
that's one of the hardest things to do as a writer, is to, truly express yourself and have your pen be an extension of your heart, you know. And so it's something that's a very special gift.
Well, thank you.
And I would agree with you. I would definitely agree. It's like when you're free to exist beyond judgment, then you're free to exist.
That's a really profound statement.
Easy way of saying it.
Yeah.
So it's like then on paper it just makes it that much easier.
Yeah, and there's something empowering about putting that pen to paper or typing, that piece of work, and and when I see that spark, it's the greatest reward as a teacher. It really is. And so I wanted to ask you guys, before we start reading some of your work, which the audience and myself are going to be very excited about, who are your favorite writers? Do you have anyone that you think of that maybe inspired you in some way? I know it's a tough question.
That's a really tough question. Some phenomenal writers. And
just whoever pops in your head.
I can honestly answer that. My favorite writer actually is my mother.
Yeah?
Yeah, she absolutely is. And she's very, I definitely get my creative side from my mother. She's influenced me in a lot of different ways. And she's a very gifted writer. And the way, not only that she expresses herself, but the way that she's not scared to. Like, she's willing to take on just about anything when it comes to whether it's politics or religion or just in jest, she's making fun of herself. It doesn't matter. And she allowed, I saw that growing up and reading a lot of her stuff that she used to write, and it inspired me to write a lot more.
Very cool.
Yeah. So mine's a little bit more personal than some just the very gifted writers, and we know there's thousands of them out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like Roth, he's fantastic. But there's tons. And quite honestly, even a lot of my peers, because a lot of writing, we're artists and we want our art to be appreciated, excuse me. But it just takes such courage to do it. So even hearing other people express themselves in a way where it's they're in my presence, like he's here right now, she's here right now. Yeah. It's actually even closer than someone who I'm just picking up a book from Barnes and Nobles or from CCP bookstore.
And that makes sense for what you do as well. How about you, Kim?
I actually have a couple. I would say Edgar Allan Poe, Mostly because I do enjoy darker
Yeah,
stories.
me too. Mm-hmm.
It's just the thing. But for his time, that kind of style of writing was huge. It was new. It was unexperienced, and I really enjoy that about him. And also Shakespeare, because he was one of the greatest.
Genius.
He was a playwright, you know. I'm a playwright, so you know, he did great things, and his work is forever remembered.
Yes, and it's always going to be. I mean, it's classic work.
It is.
How about you, Wasim?
I've never read a book that I wasn't forced to read. No. I have honestly too many different authors and eclectic tastes in reading to really mention one, because whatever I say is I'm going to be stuck saying, you know, it's going to be locked on TV.
It will be on camera for all eternity.
I will say that I try to pull a lot out of people, you know, like just talking to people and like hearing their stories and stuff.
Right.
To me, I'm very visual and auditory, and I don't like to, you know, I don't like to just read something for the sake of reading, you know. There has to be, if I'm reading a book, is because I have something that the author, you know, is saying to me, maybe, or because, I don't know. I cut.
No, it makes sense. It does make a lot of sense. I don't think we have to cut that.
No,
I think I think you're funny. I think that what you do is you know, you take that critical thinking that you do when you're talking to other people, you're writing back and forth to them, and you take that critical thinking and maybe ideas that you've seen or heard about, like you said, auditory, visual. You know, some people are more verbal.
I mean, I've never read a book that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I mean, once I start reading it,
that's
and
good.
like,
I guess.
So it's an issue, you know. You don't want to read a bunch of stuff that's not, you know, pertinent to you or is not going to help you out, you know.
I can relate to what you're saying as well. Like a lot of it is not. I mean, I haven't really read too much stuff that I have. I can't say I've never read anything I didn't like, but there's a lot of stuff out there that's fantastic. But at the same time, I know when I'm in the writing mind state, I tend not to read anything.
Right.
You know, I want to make sure that the thoughts are mine or things that I've shared with other people that I'm creating at the time. And not that you don't want to be influenced by other authors,
but that's well said.
You can't help it.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you can keep it at a certain distance, arm's distance, and just appreciate what they're doing, and not overindulge in their particular style, because that can drive me. I speak for myself. It drives me nuts sometimes when it's like, my voice sounds too much like this. You know, and it's like,
right.
Well, that's where original stories come from.
Yeah.
All classics.
Yeah.
Their own stories that they hear about other people, but are changed, or, you know, to make a brand new story. So
so you can use it as inspiration, and you can say, well, I need to get away from this because I don't want to sound too much like that, and I want to keep my voice.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that each of you has in common, is you each have a particular voice, and I can hear your voice in your writing. So let's start reading. Let's hear some of this stuff. I believe that Wasim is going to start us off. Yes.
Oh, man.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
No pressure. And just give us a little bit of background on this first piece before you launch into it.
Well, I wrote it about 6 hours ago. That's why it's still on my computer. I had to rush here. And I have to say, I'm a little bit humbled to be next to these two great writers, because I'm basically a nonfiction writer at this point in my life, and I'm trying to branch out, you know, like I didn't want to read my Judah Stark piece on the air because I kind of feel as though I want to move on, you know, and so I just started playing with poetry. I'm such a baby with it, and like honestly, I feel like I sound like Dr. Seuss sometimes. But
Like Dr. Seuss.
this
amazing.
He was great.
there's some really great opportunities this semester, and I'm sure next semester by the time this airs, there's a really great creative writing club that Jeff Markowitz runs, and he also is doing some stuff with like a writers and poet festival, I believe. And some really good support here as far as doing that. So as I read this, I know that I'm going to regret it one day when I actually do become a good poet, but here I go.
Spoken like a true
No
artist.
disclaimers needed.
Hi, my name is Wasim. My mother's Iraqi. Hi, Mom. Thanks for dealing with too much, yet supportive and lovingly backing me. I am a student who's broke. Progress flows slower than honey. The path to possibilities is a toll booth, asking for more money. I choke at the smoke of the tailpipe fallacies, burnt down opportunities, stifling education's qualities. The potholes are large, the road is crummy. Stockholders in charge, mosquitoes, blood-sucking money. So I have possessive investment in my professors and counselors who back me. They are struggling with administrative hierarchy. I want open expression, not express Starbucks coffee. Akin to the abuse and the backseat, to the chagrin of youth, forsooth weak. By the token of time, this is representative of heartfelt concerns and a burning love for an education that's heaven sent and not a feeling of being ignorant, oops, burnt. I hope to prove to the incredulous that our teachers' sufferings are ridiculous. Therefore, they can't teach us comfortably. To Kristen, her pillar Ari, to McFadden, Martin, Fleiser, Stefan, Sabri, Cohen, Hunsinger, Eli, Karambe, Giddle, and last but not least, our dean of students, Mr. Jackson, and any forgotten mentors, inanimate or still in action. My fight is your fight. For your support, I give thanks. God, please separate my education from rank. Our hopes and dreams are just more money in the bank. It's ridiculous to me that we can call ourselves free. No more que sera. Please help me. I'm crazy.
How about some other things that you brought with you? You brought a few other things.
I have this is my first piece of the year.
Okay.
Sort of a visionary tabula rasa, which
Okay.
is an emptying of the mind, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was cute, I guess.
Yeah.
By the time you guys watch this, it'll probably be 2014, so you can just bear with me. 2013, a new thinker's cosmos. Efficiency is key. Throw out old thoughts. Shine the light. Cast out doubt as the seed grows. Plow the field with care in your perceived plots. I dug my plot and I planted myself. God, in the spring, let me grow in good health. Yes, this is the year of the fresh thinkers. Spring forth with new thoughts as we pass winter. Let injustice die, ignorance splintered, fragments withered, establish a new pillar. I'm pleased to announce with great vigor that we've entered the year of the fresh thinker.
Nice. That's a good pep talk for
Yeah, it is.
everybody, isn't it?
Exciting.
Yeah, I guess
Ready
you're
to get it on
geared up for.
2013.
Yeah, now I want to get in there and do my thing and work. That's great. Really good. And you have one more or two more?
I have
or-
one
Yeah.
more to read.
Give us
I
a
guess.
background on this one.
Uh,
This is
this-
great, Wesley. Really, really good stuff.
Thanks. You guys are too kind.
No, we're not. We're just telling the truth.
The metering's off and all kinds of stuff.
No.
Once my English teachers get through with me this semester, it'll be something different. I wrote this because after taking your class and now I'm in some really great classes. I think you had Quinn Eli.
Yes.
I just started his class. He's
He's
amazingly
amazing.
accomplished and engaging. And so is, I believe her name is Adricine Karambe.
Ardencia.
Ardencia, sorry, Ardencia. She's also amazing and very accomplished. And so I feel like I'm so lucky to be in this place and time, like a CCP. I mean, we're starting, the English major is starting this fall.
Soon, yeah.
And
Very soon.
people laugh at me when I tell them we don't have one yet, but I'm first signed up on that list.
Nice.
And I wondered why I didn't start writing earlier. I mean, why did it take a class with Kirsten to finally get me to enjoy writing? And so I had realized that, as a first generation Iraqi, like most children from first generation families, our parents want us to be certain things, and artist is not one of them, And so I kind of felt a little bit alien to the whole situation, and I wanted to write a letter to other kids who might be, thinking about writing, but their parents are like, no way.
Right.
Greetings, earthlings who are in fear. To every child trying to make it here, wanted to be doctors, lawyers, and engineers. They mean well, yet they stifle your dreams. Pick up a pen, script, or brush by any means. Bring on the in your best interest screams. Kid, we didn't come all the way here to have you waste your life in some silly scene. That's the way good-natured can be untrue. If only for a second they could trade shoes. Can you yell at a tree and turn it into a stream? Ignorance makes sour milk, enlightenment's cream. They'd rather see you as a layman than an artist. They'll say at least my child works hard and honest. Write a true story or paint a picture with passion and desire. They'll call you a liar, devil, or charlatan as they toss you in the fire. You're not wasting your time, and their love is ignorant and stricture, for we all need a more beautiful story and an inspiring picture. Art is horizontal life's challenge, perpendicular. Sincerely, from an alien American, dreamer, and a well-wisher.
Wow.
I like that.
That could be really inspiring for students who, or people who are cautious or afraid to get into the craft of writing. There are lots of jobs in writing out there.
There's so many.
Yeah.
I'd also comment on that as well, Kirsten, is that
Sure.
it doesn't even have to be your parent that's stopping you from that's infringing. Like what I got to, it's even myself at times. I'm like, this is what I have to do in order to be successful.
Good point.
And I cannot take that gamble, that risk, in order to do something that I love, enjoy, and just extremely makes me extremely happy. I got to go into a money-making business and not in the art. So, like, don't shortchange yourself of what you're doing. Because,
exactly.
like, you know, like when you do make your point with your writing, it's going to affect and affect anyone who's in earshot one way or another. So it's like your poetry touched me with that. I'm like, yeah, you know, because it's like I'm a business major.
Thank you. I mean, when you say, it's interesting you say don't shortchange yourself, you know, in writing, and it's that's the feeling, you know, that a lot of us have when we're writing, is that we're going to be shortchanging ourselves because we're taking on something that we enjoy to do. And, you know, I'm sure we all feel and have had teachers to make us feel as though our writing can always be better, or our writing can always be better, you know, and so it's nice, and I thank you for that. It's very humbling to be made, you know, to know that your words might make a statement, but it's also very nice to know that, you know, it's not something that, you know, I don't know what I'm saying.
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying. So whether you understand, like, and that's kind of my point. Like, you know, whether it's your parent, whether it's your own ego, whether it's society by itself that's saying this is what you have to do in order to be successful.
Right. There are certain expectations.
There are certain expectations. In essence, of why we battle with it so deeply is because that's not who we are, and that's not what we do, and that's not why we do it.
Right.
So it conflicts with what everyone else says, what you should be doing.
Right.
You know, rather than what you should be sharing with society, and that's what we choose to share with society and not just take.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of writing in a lot of ways.
Yusef, I'd love to hear some of your work. Would you be willing to share some with us?
More than happy to share it.
Awesome, and just give us a little setup. I know that this piece has a real punch at the end, and we don't want to give away the ending, so just a little setup for us.
Well, this piece is called Walking with Dragons. I wrote it actually it's been a part of me my whole life. And certain stories take a long time to come into full understanding and fruition and comprehension emotionally. And it has a lot to do with my family and how I interpret certain events that happened in the past. And it's with that said, I'll get into it. And in the end, it's definitely a different ending. So I crept slowly while you slept deeply. All sounds were muffled by fear of your consciousness. My toes searched desperately for unoccupied ground while simultaneously displacing random pieces of trash that found its way into my path. My jaws clenched tightly, the same way they always did when I was sneaking or lying. My laser-like, floor-piercing eyes strained with such intensity my neck began to cramp up. With each gurgling exhale of breath from your mouth, the structural integrity of my knees weakened with wobbly expediency. I remember unsuccessfully trying to time each locked-toed step with the cadence of your inconsistent breathing. Then there was that smell, that overpowering, undeniable smell that internally lingers in my memory. A maddening smell filled with fire and brimstone, a smell that filled the air with remorse and trepidation. It hardened the softest heart and reeked of devilish resurfing past. I was too young to recognize its origins at the time, but my 7-year-old nose remembers it vividly. My childish mind would drift into a realm of imagination filled with heroes and heroines, dungeons and dragons, wizardry, and of course magic potions that would transform an incorruptible soul into an evil dragon. I was the world's only hope. My duty was to sneak past the sleeping dragon, steal the elixir, and destroy it before sunrise. I had to be wary and extremely careful because the beast that created that smell, that unbelievable smell, could not be trusted. Lunch was fried fish sandwiches, so it must have been Thursday. The French fries were crisp, lightly browned, and lightly salted. This was a phrase my granny guts continuously repeated to me on Thursdays. In hindsight, many things were passed down to me in this oral fashion, particularly recipes and cooking techniques. How she fried or cooked anything on a day like this was extraordinary to me. The summer heat was unbearable, and the humidity was oppressive. I would have been satisfied with a tuna fish sandwich and crackers, or Kool-Aid and Wonder Bread. One of my favorite games was to make giant bread balls and pour red Kool-Aid over them. They were my fireballs from hell, and they often found their way on the ceilings, walls, and occasionally the clothesline that hung outside high above the alleyway. Either way, it was too hot for food, and since Wonder Bread and Kool-Aid had been recently removed outside of my childish reach, I had to suspect my last assault on Fort bed sheets didn't go unnoticed by the neighbors. Oh well, fish it would be. It was delicious, but I didn't really want to eat. I wanted to go outside and run the streets with the other kids. I would watch them from atop my castle like a king on a throne. "'Tis beneath royalty to indulge in frivolous endeavors, your majesty, particularly one that involves running through dirty street water from a fire hydrant." That's what I imagine my royal nanny would have said to me if I had one. Granny Guts saw I wasn't eating my fish sandwich and shot me a well-understood glare. I nibbled the bread to deflect her attention. Lockjawed, I took my plate of food into the other room, the one where I could watch the other kids have fun with envy. I pressed my head against the window pane. I could feel the heat against my forehead. The window seemed to give way and bend around the contour of my head. It was either the heat or my magic powers to walk through walls. You never knew with me. My powers hadn't fully developed, so I couldn't really control them. It was probably why my grandmother kept me in isolation. The volatility and unpredictability of powers can be a danger to everyone. My powers were extraordinary. I had the ability to stare deep into the sun without blinking. That's something that would blind anyone else. Well, that's all I had mastered at the time, but many more powers were emerging on a daily basis. My granny guts always reminded me of how I saved the milk. My cat-like reflexes caught the milk from falling in midair, preventing it from smashing on the floor. It was impressive. Outside, the fire hydrant had been finagled open again by the bad kids. They had the garbage can top today. The sound was undeniable, as the force of water being redirected off the metal was only matched by the squeal of girls getting their freshly done hairdos wet. It was fun to watch as unsuspecting people driving by with their windows down got drenched and nearly crashed their cars. By the time they recovered, they went to get out of their cars, all the kids would scatter in utter delight. These kids were bad. I mean real bad. But I couldn't help but to like them. They were hilarious. The way they would plot on the water ice man was masterful. One kid would do or say something obnoxious, while the other kids would hide behind a parked car. The water ice man would chase the obnoxious one up the block, while the other kids would grab a bucket of water ice. I related to them somewhat. They were bored, and boredom births mischief. They knew better than to mess with Granny Guts. Firstly, she knew all their names and where they lived. She knew their mamas, and probably used to whoop their pops. So it was never a good idea to cross her. Outside of all the personal knowledge she had on them, they knew she would break out a switch and whoop them in the street, too. Granny Guts was also the church pianist and taught at the neighborhood church. Her toughness was only superseded by her generosity. She would often give them freshly baked cookies and tell them stories about when she was a child, 100 years ago. They would always speak to her and acknowledge her presence. It must have been 2 o'clock because Granny Gus was playing her piano. It was her pride and joy. And every day at 2 o'clock, she worked her magic. Not even the oppressive heat and humidity could stifle or dampen the enthusiasm Granny Gus had for her afternoon concerto. I would watch in amazement as her fingers effortlessly romanced the keys in musical courtship. Melodies and harmonies recognized in me possessed her like a poltergeist. It was fascinating, not only to hear the recreations of Beethoven and Bach, but also to see the utter detachment she had for the rest of the world as she played. My presence in the room was never noticed. I wonder if it was the dead composers themselves controlling her body for one last go at genius. She would play for hours. I fell asleep listening. My eyes opened to an uncomfortable darkness. I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing at full salute. There was a shooting weakness running from mid-spine to ass crack, and a little voice telling me to turn tail. This was its lair. The heavy air was weighing me down as it entered my lungs. I could smell its dragon breath. I sat still, scared to move, waiting for my pupils to adjust to the darkness. Every sound was amplified, every sense magnified. Maybe it smells me. Maybe it sees me. Just be still, I whispered to myself. Moments passed in the darkness seemed like hours. Without the company of light, it was triple stages of darkness, and I felt like an unborn baby in the womb. Dark, hot, trapped. I plotted to escape this devilish domain, but then remembered my mission. Get that elixir and destroy it. Just before falling asleep, I remember Granny Gut's smile fade, and a tear streamed down her right eye. The passion was overwhelming her, as was the heat. She played, she wiped her brow with her arm, and she drank and played some more. This pattern kept going as sleep overwhelmed me. My Granny Gut's image got smaller. As my eyes slid closed, she got darker, as did her music. Dragon language shouldn't be listened to with human ears. The sound of it alone will create never-ending nightmares, even when you're awake. Their tongues only speak in venomous syllables meant to pollute your soul with hell's iniquities. People think it's their breath you should be careful of, but it's not. It's their company, their lives of misery. To be a dragon's companion takes the strongest of wills. The dragon is devoid of love and sees the evil in all that passes its eye. Love irritates it. They perceive love as guile and participation in love as gamesmanship. They torque the angles of life with mental manipulation, always trying to gain the upper hand. No weapon can pierce their scaly skin. There is no reasoning with the dragon. The only defense is truth. The breathing was getting louder, the smell was getting thicker, and my metal was getting thinner. Humanity needed me to carry on. I had arrived. Profanities of all sorts came out of its mouth. You filthy little son of a bitch, it slurred at me. Get the hell out of here, you little bastard. Your daddy's dead. Better off dead anyway. You think you better than me? You ain't shit. Its venom spewed. Don't shake your head at me. Speak up and you ain't stupid, is you? Oh, you stupid. I'll smack the shit out of you, boy. Turn on the light. I was paralyzed. Turn on the light, it screamed. My hand fumbled across the wall. I found the switch. Illumination, followed by shock and disbelief, left me immobile. Hand me my liquor, it pointed to the piano. On top of the piano was a silver container. My Granny Gus was drinking from while she played the piano. Give it to me, it yelled. Now! I stumbled into the piano on command. My 7-year-old clumsy hand clamped the aluminum container, the elixir. I'm invisible now. My superpowers tell me so. Give it to me, it screamed again. You're the world's only hope, that little voice said in my head. My eyes scanned the room, skipped past the unclothed dragon, back to the light switch, then to the stairs. I'm invisible and I have super speed, I told myself. I turned the container over and poured its contents onto the floor. No, you bastard! You stupid, ungrateful son of a whore! My hand found the light switch. I was invisible now. I slept in the closet that night. Dragons don't like sweaters. In the morning, I didn't want to open that door. I remember wondering if it was just a bad dream. In some ways, it was. A bad dream I would dream over and over again. My 7-year-old eyes remember the sight of her intoxicated, 65-year-old naked body spread amongst the trash on the floor. The visualization is seared in my memory, and it trumps all beautiful moments we had together and the deep lessons she would teach me. I never understood how a liquid could transform the sweetest woman I ever knew into an angry, fire-breathing dragon. I completed my mission that night. The elixir was destroyed. Humanity depended on it. But more importantly, she depended on it. My granny guts, my fire-breathing dragon, and the first alcoholic I ever met. We never spoke of the episode. Maybe she didn't remember, or maybe she was too ashamed to bring it up. I would like to believe it was the latter, but more likely it was the former. Today, I've learned to walk with the dragons. I don't fight with them anymore. I just give them the truth, usually accompanied by their favorite elixir. I've learned how to be their companion. They come back to see me. They sit in front of me at my bar. My ears are immune to their venomous diction now. I serve them vodka, rum, gin, and single malt scotch with that unforgettable smell that reminds me of my granny guts, the first alcoholic I ever met. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Yeah, really, really powerful story.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what does that leave you guys with?
At least
The images, the feelings that you had as that 7-year-old, the bravery that you had in dealing with that.
I think sometimes when you're 7, you don't even know you're brave.
No, but to create that superhero for yourself is something that struck me, and that you were, and that you still are a superhero. Having gone through that at 7, you know, and to be able to write about it, and to see your grandmother in different ways in the story. You know, that it's not just the bad stuff. You also get to see her strength of character and who she was to you in other ways as well. So it's a complicated
it was complicated.
story, right?
I mean, I heard Yusuf practicing a little bit before the show, and like, I still, like, I almost cried then, and like, holding back the tears. I mean, it's obvious, like, you poured your heart out into that, and that you really dug deep, you know, to be able to bring that out and to share it with us like that, and the creativity on top of it, you know, is like, I think everybody knows an alcoholic or, you know, somebody who's been in that position, and like, to be able to write about it in a hilarious manner was really nice to hear.
I think a lot of ways you deal with stuff, I can only speak for myself actually, a lot of ways that I deal with that actually is with humor. And you'll find a lot of my pieces will always have something that I can laugh and keep from crying, you know, because like, with all that said, there's a lot of her that I carry with me, you know, and I remember being that age and I said, I'll never drink, you know. Yeah. And then it's you know, like, I'll never touch alcohol. Right. It's like nowadays, it's like you grow and you learn from it. And you also learn that people have their weaknesses no matter who you are. And it might, like, alcohol only manifested it for her, you know.
Yeah, that was her thing.
That was her thing.
Right.
But that, like, to me, it was the first time I saw it, and it was painful to see as there's dragons like dancing around your thing.
And very scary, I would imagine.
Right, but it was very scary. She was but outside of that, she wasn't very scary. She was always intimidating. She always, in the funny way, she always made me use words. I couldn't shake my head. You know, she goes, you know, she was like, don't shake your head, you're not stupid. You know, you're not dumb. You can use words. So she had like such. She would draw the most out of you, and she was really like a phenomenal musician. Like
that's very cool.
Used to play for like different groups, and everyone would try to get her. And when she wasn't indulged in over consuming alcohol, people wanted to be around her. And that was the sad part, but it was.
Yeah, I got that from the story. I really did.
I also really enjoyed how you made this fairy tale almost, and then changed it into reality.
Yeah.
Like, at first I was like, what dragon? You know, where is this coming from? And then I realized that the dragon was your grandmother. I was like, whoa, that is mind-blowing.
Yeah. But nice metaphoric imagery
very much so, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Anna, last but certainly not least, you're going to share part of a play with us,
Yes,
correct?
it's the first scene in the play.
Great.
Should have brought the popcorn.
Well, first, the title of the play is called Desire. And just a little bit of background, it's based on a true story, inspired from a true story, I should say. However, a lot of it is psychological, so you have to keep up with it. So, to start off, I'll tell you a little bit about what happens in the story. There's a man named Tony, and he has recently become a hit playwright in Philadelphia. Now, he's currently working on his second play, but he has writer's block, and that's pretty rough. So, basically, this girl appears from nowhere at his front door and becomes his inspiration for his newest play. However, we're not sure where this person came from and what type of inspiration he will be, or she will be, on him. So, the scene starts off with Tony sitting at his old-fashioned typewriter in his apartment. And this scene takes place, or it has two people back and forth. So, it starts with Tony. Have I gone mad? My work used to be so good. Surely the madness is holding back my words. He looks outside the window. Perhaps a walk would do me some good. He neatly stacks his unused papers and throws on his coat. But before he can leave, there is a knock on the door. He curiously answers the door, surprised to see a woman standing in the doorway drenched from the rain. May I help you? Are you cold? Come in, please. Thanks. You don't know how much I appreciate it. She comes in shivering with her soggy hair clung to her face. You must be freezing. He takes her coat. I'm really sorry. I just arrived from New York and got stuck in the rain. I'm new here and I have no place to go. I guess I'm really no good at planning these things. Don't you have family here? No. Friends? Nope. So, I'm trying to get away. From what? Life. She sits down only to remember how wet she is. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get your furniture all wet. She stands back up. Oh, I never liked that couch anyway. He runs over to the couch and nervously tries to dry the wet stain with a nearby rag. She walks around the room to get a better look at the fancy knickknacks Tony has collected. Nice place you've got here. Thanks. Should I call a taxi for you? Maybe set something up at a motel? That'd be great, thanks. Tony walks over to the phone and begins dialing. Can I have a glass of water by any chance? She asks Tony. Sure, the kitchen's over there. He waits for an answer. The girl walks into the kitchen and goes through the cabinets to find a glass. While she looks, she's totally in awe of all the beautiful china Tony owns. Meanwhile, Tony has finished his phone call. He then comes into the kitchen and sits down. Your taxi's on its way. I've booked a motel room for you. Are you hungry? No. Are you sure? I might have some peanuts or something. She chuckles. I'm flattered by your awe-inspiring meal, but no thank you. She drinks from the glass. He chuckles and leans onto the counter. I don't eat in very often. I'm not much of a cook. That's too bad. I can cook myself, actually. Is that so? My masterpiece is spaghetti a la meatballs. He laughs. So you said you were trying to get away from life? Are you having a rough time? If that's what you'd like to call it. She looks down at her feet. He tilts his head. You're very odd, you know that? Showing up at my doorstep like that? You don't appear to have a drug issue, and deranged lunatic hasn't crossed my mind yet, so what's your name? Ivy Savici. He stands up straight, and he holds his hand out. I'm Antonio Stevenson. Everyone calls me Tony, though. Nice to meet you. He stands up straight and holds his, She puts the glass down and shakes his hand. Same here. She smiles up at him. What do you plan on doing after you leave here? Ivy goes back to looking at her feet. I honestly don't know. I don't have much of anything, as you can see, but I guess my hopes were to start from scratch. Make something from nothing, you know? She finishes off her last sip of water and puts the glass in the sink. So what do you do, Mr. Stevenson, that allows you to afford such beautiful china? I'm a playwright, and a pretty good one, I imagine. So far, I'm working on my newest play. And how's that turning out for you? Not as good as I'd hoped to. I've got writer's block. I was just about to take a walk to find some inspiration. In the rain? It helps me write. Brainstorming, I guess you could say. She sarcastically chuckles. Clever. No wonder you're a playwright. Would you like to see what I have so far? It's not very much, but I think it's the beginning of something great. A legendary hit, maybe. Sure. Tony shows Ivy to his desk, and he pulls out a few pages to show her. As Ivy reads the pages, you can hear a clock ticking in the background. The two slowly get comfortable on the floor as she reads on. Tony watches over her shoulder, looking for her facial expressions and the response to the story. Finally, Ivy has finished. She puts the papers down and looks at Tony without a word. So, it's okay. Just okay? It's adequate. Adequate. He stands up and holds the paper to look at them. This is good stuff. You're not a writer, and you clearly don't know what you're talking about. I may not be a writer, but I know drama when I see it. Oh, yeah? How would you know drama? My life is nothing but drama. How so? I don't want to talk about it. So don't bring it up. Fine. Good. Okay. They sit in silence for a moment. Your taxi should be here soon. Okay. It should take you right to your motel. All right. And the drive shouldn't be too long. Gotcha. Stop being so quiet. Why? Because I'm sitting in silence with a strange girl in my apartment, and it makes me uncomfortable. It's only what you make it out to be. Well, I make it out to be awkward and uncomfortable. I'm sorry you feel that way. Good. Be sorry. Will do. So, she looks at him. Do you want to spend the night here? Is that what you want? I'm asking you. It's your place. Yes, I want you to spend the night. She stands up and smiles. I'd love to. Where can I sleep?
Very nice. After hearing that, I definitely want to know what happens next. Too. This is a really interesting piece because it's sort of a mystery too, isn't it?
It's very much a mystery.
Yeah.
I love how you were able to have that awkward air between the two characters.
Yeah.
I felt awkward just listening to
I know.
it.
Yeah. It makes you feel what they're feeling. Yeah, and the interaction between the two of them, you're thinking, well, how is this relationship going to develop? What's going to happen next? Where is this leading? You know, are the secrets to be revealed? And yeah, it's really cool. So when you were writing this, and you said that it was loosely based on a true story, but you take off on your imagination, like you said.
I do quite a bit.
How did things play out for you while you were writing this?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
Like when you were writing it, what was your process in terms of, like, did you sketch it out first, or did you and just keep writing, or?
Well, usually when I write, I just write what's on my mind.
Okay.
I knew the story.
Okay.
I said it was inspired by
Right.
a true story. So I knew, what it was going to be based off of. However, as it kept going, I kept thinking about psychological movies. A lot of Hitchcock films are psychological.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty other psychological movies.
Oh, yeah, but that's iconic.
He was my main idea for this. However, when I was writing it, I was thinking, well, who the heck is Ivy going to be to him?
Yeah.
And in the end, we find out, and it's a big shock. It's a big shock.
Okay.
But mostly, I was thinking about my personal life because it's inspired on my personal life.
Okay.
With someone I knew
Okay.
a while ago, and I kind of knew where it was going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because all of you guys have mentioned personal inspiration, and to be able to go there as a writer, it's a really brave thing to do, I think, and it's what touches people the most when people
hard
write
to
about that.
help not to, you know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's that it takes getting yourself out there, putting yourself out there, and committing to it, and I think that's something all of you do. So thank you guys so much for coming on the show and bearing your souls to us and sharing your work.
I need to find out what happens at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of bothering me.
Yeah.
I'm already imagining what happens.
And what is the title again, Anna?
Desire.
Desire, that's
Desire.
right. Okay, so look out for Desire and look out for these guys' wonderful pieces as well. And thank you, Wasim, Youssef, and Anna, for coming on the show and sharing with us. I know that our audiences will be impressed, as I am, with your work, and I look forward to seeing more from you in the future. And to our audience, thank you all for joining us here tonight for the Philadelphia Cultural Forum on CCP TV, Community College of Philadelphia's educational channel. That's all the time we have for now, everyone. And I'm your host, Kirsten Quinn, and I will see you next time. Have a great night.